So the Trump campaign decided to run an ad. And frankly, I was wondering why it took so long. In part, quoting Dr. Fauci from my interview of Fauci. And the ad went like this. Go.
President Trump is recovering from the coronavirus, and so is America. Together, we rose to meet the challenge, protecting our seniors, getting them life-saving drugs in record time, sparing no expense. President Trump tackled the virus head-on, as leaders should.
I can't imagine that anybody could be doing more.
We'll get through this together. We'll live carefully, but not afraid.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
That's a fantastic ad, isn't it? And it's an accurate ad. And it's a beautifully done ad. And it challenges that narrative by the media and the Democrats that the President of the United States hasn't been on top of this virus, that he was slow out of the gate, that he doesn't listen to the science, and so forth and so on. You've heard all the propaganda. That ad addresses it. And among other things, it quotes Dr. Fauci. Just a little quote. So Dr. Fauci's been in Washington 50 years. Can you believe that? A bureaucrat for half a century. And he's been in this job for like 36, 37 years. Now, to be perfectly honest with you, to be in a job that long, you got to know how to claw your way to the top and to stay on the top. That's a long time to be filling a slot. Your deputies probably want to move in, or your associate deputies probably want to move in. And the other day, Fauci was asked if he would leave. He said, no way, no way. So Fauci's 80 years old, and he's not leaving. All that said, all I get from Fauci now, maybe you get something differently, is wear a mask and keep your distance. Pretty much. Isn't that, Mr. Producer? Wear a mask and keep your distance. I don't know how many degrees you need to tell people that. Nonetheless, there's this narrative out, and apparently it's been working for the Biden campaign and the Democrats to continue to trash the president's handling of the coronavirus and sickeningly to blame him for the deaths. To blame him for the deaths, which is so outrageous. And so Fauci likes to be on TV all the time. All the time. So he's fair game. He's a public figure. He's out there. He's making comments that have a political impact. He's making comments that have an impact on industries, whether or not they should be open, whether they should be closed, and so forth. So he's gone way beyond his job description. So of course he should be able to be used in an ad because he's hanging himself out there as somewhat of a political figure, among other things. And so, of course, CNN's Jake Tapper, who's a Democrat, who worked for a Democrat House member, who worked for Handgun Control, Inc., that's who he is, that's what he is, and he's a Trump hater, despises the president. He brings Fauci on, and Fauci's more than happy to come on, and this is how it goes. Go.
Dr. Fauci, good to have you back. I do have to ask you about this Trump campaign
Let's stop there. Right out of the box, I do have to ask you about this Trump campaign advertising. So Fauci knew I was coming on. This isn't news. This is a hit job. Go.
Where you're on camera saying, quote, I can't imagine that anybody could be doing more. You quickly came out with a statement that noted that that sentence had been taken out of context. You were talking about the whole of government response, not...
Let's stop. You're going to hear the whole thing in a moment. But the whole of government response, let me ask you folks something. What's the name of the administration? I think it's called the Trump administration. Who appointed the task force? I think President Trump. Who runs the task force? I think President Trump's vice president. Who consults with the president before they make major decisions that affect our culture and our society? They confront, and who do they consult? The President of the United States? This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Go ahead.
And of course, you've never endorsed a presidential candidate in your 5 decades of public service.
Nobody said he did endorse anyone. But he can say things that are flattering about the president and what the president did during the virus. There's nothing wrong with that. Why all the negativity? Go.
The Trump campaign take this ad down?
You know, I think so, Jake. I think it's really unfortunate and really disappointing that they did that. It's so clear that I'm not a political person, and I have never either.
Except for those love letters between him and Hillary Clinton. But he's not a political person. Go.
Or indirectly endorsed the political candidate. And to take a completely out of context statement and put it in, which is obviously a political campaign.
What you will see is it's not taken out of context. In fact, when you hear the relevant part of my interview with Fauci, because that's where it's taken from, you'll see that Fauci said even more So taking that line out of the interview, while it's helpful to the president because he said it, the interview itself is much more helpful in context. Go.
That I thought was really very disappointing.
What would you say if I told you I heard that the Trump campaign was actually preparing to do another ad featuring you?
You know, that would be terrible. I mean, that would be outrageous if they do that. In fact, that might actually come back to backfire on them. I hope they don't do that, because that would be kind of playing a game that we don't want to play. So I hope they reconsider that. If, in fact, they are indeed considering doing that, I hope that they reconsider and not do that.
Fauci is highly political. That's why he's on CNN. That's why he's saying what he's saying. He's trying to chill the discussion. The fact of the matter is he publicly, on TV, in my interview, praised the President of the United States and the administration and everybody working in the administration. In other words, when you go to the interview, you will see that he counters the narrative that's out there. And so the Trump administration is trying to do that. Really, what should be happening is newsrooms, news shows like this Tapper and the others, they should be running my interview, the relevant parts, with Dr. Fauci to show that what the Democrats and Biden are saying about the president and his administration are lies.